The season is so close, and with all the film and prediction videos that we've made in this long offseason, it's time to make one more before everything gets started. This is one bold prediction for all 32 NFL teams for the 2022 season. The prediction could be a really good thing, a really bad thing, a team or a player thing. It could be anything, but it will be bold, and we will give an explanation of how it could possibly happen. And there are 32 teams to talk about, so we won't spend any more time on the intro, and we'll figure out the flow of things as things go on. So let's get right into it. And we're going to go in alphabetical order based on team name, and the video is going to be chaptered, so it's easier to follow along or skip through if you want to. So, starting with the San Francisco 49ers, the only non-alphabetical team name might have one of the most bold takes as well, and that is Trey Lance wins MVP. We saw this with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. They both won MVPs in their second year, but it was technically their first year as a full-time starter going into the season. And all three of these guys were drafted as super raw quarterback prospects, but were also drafted into great situations and allowed to take time to develop. Lance is in a great system, has a great team, and is immensely talented. He was hurt last year on his throwing hand, which nobody really talks about, but everything coming out of camp is he already shows huge signs of improvement, and I think he has the potential to put up some truly insane numbers. He currently has massive long odds, but as you'll start to see in this video goes on, it wouldn't be a bold prediction if everyone agrees with it, but on the other hand, there's some merit to it. But moving on to the Bears' bold take, and that is they will finish the season with 1 to 2 wins. This roster is just poor in my opinion, and I see them as the fourth best team in the NFC North, and looking at their schedule for the 2022 season, of course they can win some surprise games, as we never know in the NFL, as we just saw the Jags beat the Bills last year. But I don't see them being favorites going into a game more than 1 to 3 times this season. Justin Fields is incredibly talented, and I think I'm much higher on him than a lot of other people, and everything I've said on my channel reflects that. But they have a new coach, they lost Allen Robinson, Khalil Mack, Akeem Hicks, and really didn't do anything in the draft to substantially help Fields or fill major holes. And their training camp stories have been filled with injuries and arrests. Their offensive line is young and maybe promising, but right now they still don't even know where they're going to be playing on the line. Which brings us to the Bengals, and Joe Mixon will lead the league in rushing yards. Teams are not going to be playing much one-high coverage anymore against the Bengals. Similar to the Chiefs getting this treatment, as defenses play in these two-high shells to limit big plays, teams respect Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and their deep play ability, but also the Bengals' offensive line got much better, and Mixon is the clear bell cow back for this team, and their third down back is Samaje Perine, so Mixon will get a lot of touches, and he just finished third in yards last year. I think he can take a huge jump this year, even more than other running backs that are expected to have massive seasons. The Buffalo Bills. Kaiir Elam will be an all-pro corner. He's someone I haven't even made a video on, but I think how the Bills' team is structured, they have Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer, and Micah Hyde to complement him in the secondary. He's going to get targeted a lot by opposing quarterbacks while covering the other team's number 2 or 3 receiver. He has the ability to lock down and come down with a lot of interceptions, especially if the quarterback is hurried, with a much better Bills pass rush after adding Von Miller. But moving on to the Broncos, in the AFC West, where it feels like every team that has the ability to finish first or fourth will probably focus more on players here in this division, but I think a lot of people are down on Russell Wilson, and I think that's wrong. I think Russell Wilson will have the best season he's had in his long career, and even though I don't think he'll win the MVP, he will more than likely get his first vote after having the best season yet, as he has a ton of weapons and a really solid run game, and Russell Wilson has always thrived off of play action. And next, we have the Cleveland Browns. They will finish last in the division. I think without Deshaun Watson, the Bengals and Ravens have consistently been seen as better teams, but I wouldn't stop there. I think the Steelers team is roaring and ready to go, and I think other NFL teams will be out for blood more so than ever against this Brown teams. At the time of this video, Watson's sentencing is currently being appealed, so we don't know how many games he's going to miss. It's at least going to be 6, possibly more, but I think the Steelers sneak up and finish above the Browns, making them the 4th team in this division. Next, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans will finish the season with 15 touchdowns or more and lead the league in receiving yards. The Bucs, with no Gronk, no AB, no Rojo, and Chris Godwin coming off an ACL injury, Evans is going to be the clear number one target on this team. And Tom Brady has shown no signs of slowing down, as he just threw for 5,300 yards last season, and I think the majority of those yards this season will be heading in 13's direction. Look for a monster and historic season from one of the league's most underrated receivers. The Arizona Cardinals will miss the playoffs this year. This team feels like they're ready to go, and I think the trend is expecting 3 teams in this division to make the playoffs like they did last year. However, with D-Hop missing the first 6 games, Hollywood Brown in some recent trouble, I think their room for error is very small, and because I see them as the 3rd best team in their own division, I think it's going to be up for some other NFC teams to snag their wild card spot this year. The Los Angeles Chargers will finish the year with a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. Their defense is much improved from last year, and their offense was already 2nd in the league last year for combined yards. But Chargers fans, don't let this fool you. We still remember that Chargers team from 2010 that finished the season 1st in both offense and defense and somehow still didn't make the playoffs. The wild card for this team will be the risky nature of Brandon Staley, which might make them the best team in the AFC, or again, make them not make the playoffs. I guess we'll see, but I'd predict that they're going to finish as a top 5 offense and defense. The Kansas City Chiefs, their offense will be better than it was last year. This seems impossible after losing Tyreek, Demarcus Robinson, and Byron Pringle, but they did add Juju, MVS, and they drafted Sky Moore, and I think all 3 of these players are very complementary to the Chiefs' offensive system, and they still have Kelsey and McCole Hartman. I think the passing and rushing attack for this team is going to be much more balanced, and if Mahomes doesn't feel the need to force anything, I think he's going to play the best structured football he's played in his young and very impressive career. The Indianapolis Colts will finish 6-0 against divisional opponents. They were just missing a sense of urgency last year. Not saying that this Titans team is bad by any means, but I just think this Colts have a better team in general. Matt Ryan will let his guys know how extremely difficult it is going to be to make the playoffs in the AFC, and they've been extremely blessed to be in the division to play some of the lesser teams in the league, like the Jags and Texans. And I think they'll take care of these teams pretty handily, and I think they'll get some tough wins against the Titans. Moving on to the Washington Commanders, Chase Young wins Comeback Player of the Year. His season was cut short last year, but he wasn't nearly as productive in those games when he was healthy in comparison to his rookie season. But he is a great talent in the NFL, and if he can become as good as a closer as he is physically dominant, I could see him having a 15-plus sack season this year and secure the award for Comeback Player of the Year. The Dallas Cowboys are going to finish 3rd in their division. A ranking just came out that put the Cowboys as the 12th best team in the NFL, and to me, this is a massive reach. I think this really understates the loss of Amari Cooper, Lyle Collins, and Connor Williams, and right now, I think the Eagles are a much better team top to bottom and will win this division, but just some of the question marks that the Cowboys have and the Cowboys doing Cowboys things, I wouldn't be surprised if either the Commanders or Giants finally put together some decent football and stop underachieving with their rosters and take 2nd place in the NFC East. And now we have the Miami Dolphins. I live in Miami, and I had the privilege this week to watch a few training camp practices in person, and I was really high on the new-look Dolphins from the jump with McDaniel. But after what I saw, my bold prediction is the Dolphins will lead the league in yards after catch and be a top 5 running team. The running back room is stacked. Their offensive line got much better, and with Tyreek, Waddle, and Cedric Wilson, there is plenty of speed to go around, and Tua has been great at training camp finding them and hitting them where they can catch it and run, and they'll be able to outrun just about anyone in the league that could be chasing them. The Philadelphia Eagles will win the division by 2 or more games. And I know I kind of stated this already, but I have a whole video on why I'm so high on the Eagles, so I won't waste a ton of time talking about all the details that go into it, but check that out if you're interested. So not only do I think there will be a new division winner in the NFC East for the 18th year in a row, but I don't think it'll come down to the wire like it so often does, and the Eagles will be able to take care of this division pretty handedly. The Atlanta Falcons. They are going to have a really exciting offense. And I know this isn't a numerical or quantifiable goal, but looking at what they have Kyle Pitts, they drafted Drake London, and they have the do-it-all weapon in Cordero Patterson. And now they have Marcus Mariota under center. There are still so many question marks on this team, and I think wins for this team will not be easy to come by, but I don't think they're going to be the boring, bad, or mediocre team like they were last year. I actually can't wait to watch Falcons games this year, and I think there's going to be some very exciting highlight plays week in and week out as they continue to rebuild their roster. But moving on to the New York Giants. And this one is also a little bit more vague, but I think this offense finally performs like it's been expected to for the last few years. They have a ton of talent on paper, and I think the missing piece that they brought in was Brian Daboll. Although I think Daniel Jones isn't going to be the guy for the future, Daboll was able to get so much out of Josh Allen and really get the best out of the Bills offense in general as they got more talented. Kenny Golladay, Kadarius Toney, Saquon Barkley, Sterling Shepard all have underperformed of what they're capable of. And I know injuries have played their part in that, but I think not one, but all of these guys will have career-altering years in 2022, just with the confidence I have in Daboll putting them in the best possible situations. And our bold take for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Travis Etienne proves to be Urban Meyer's only non-mistake. Urban Meyer will be remembered for signing Tim Tebow at tight end, kicking kickers, and publicly cheating on his wife after lying to his team, and do nothing but lose and embarrass the entire franchise. But even though he was heavily criticized for drafting a running back in the first round when there were so many other holes on this team, I think Doug Peterson will right this wrong and turn Etienne into a do-it-all weapon and become the key piece on this Jaguars offense in the run game and in the passing game. And that takes us to the New York Jets. Zach Wilson will take the biggest jump out of any year two quarterback. I have a whole video on this, and there's a lot to like about the year two for a lot of these quarterbacks, but Zach Wilson's starting point was pretty low, and his talent is very high. They added a ton of weapons on offense for him at wide receiver, tight end, and O-line, and a lot of players are coming back last year fully healthy. And Wilson had a full offseason to work and improve on last year's pretty terrible mistakes, so look for Zach mother-loving Wilson to take a massive step this year in 2022. And the thumbnail was absolutely not clickbait. The Detroit Lions will make the playoffs. And hell yes, I am drinking the Kool-Aid. This Lions team is culturally so awesome, and I think this will be one of the more interesting hard knocks we've seen in a while. But culture only gets you so far. They've also been hitting on all cylinders during the past few drafts. They're forming a team that is never going to lie down or get steamrolled. Their O-line and D-line are really the features of this team. And now with TJ Hawkinson, Amon-Ra, and the best receiver in the draft in Jamison Williams to pair with a 1-2 punch at running back, I think the Lions are going to surprise a lot of people and snag a playoff spot this year. The Green Bay Packers. Their offense is going to look even better without Davante Adams. And if you're having deja vu of what we just talked about with the Chiefs, I wouldn't be surprised. And again, losing a guy like Tyreek or Davante is never a positive, but the way it's going to work is I think Rodgers thrives on his pre-snap reads and everything being more balanced. I think Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs will be great contributors even as rookies. And although this might be a run-heavy team, this Packers offense might be scarier than ever as he's going to have a fully balanced field and the defense won't be able to plan for almost anything. The Carolina Panthers. Matt Corral is going to be the starter by the end of the year. There is all of this talk about Darnold and Baker, and I think Baker wins this job, and I think he actually plays well during this season. But if we've learned anything over the past couple years, the Panthers owner David Tepper doesn't just want okay, or he doesn't just want good. He hires and fires coaches and will pay any dollar to move on from a quarterback he doesn't think can win at all. And just knowing this with Matt Rule on the hot seat, I think he will pull out all the stops to keep his job, and that's including playing a raw rookie in the last few games of the year to show Tepper that there's promise for the future and hopefully secure his job. And this takes us to the New England Patriots. And I've learned in my lifetime to never bet against the Patriots, but it feels like it's one of those years where there's more question marks than answers. I think the Patriots finished with a losing record for the second time in 3 seasons. Every team in their division got much better, and most teams in the AFC got better as a whole. They lost their 5-time Super Bowl champion offensive coordinator and replaced him with a defensive coach who doesn't even quite hold the title yet. I know that's money things, but whatever. And out of camp, everything I'm hearing, it sounds like the offensive line has issues, and they're not in a conference or even in a division where you can have a slow start and have an easy time coming out of it, because the losses can stack up in a hurry, and every team is looking to play their best football against the Patriots week in and week out to get back at them for having over 2 decades of dominance. The Las Vegas Raiders. Derek Carr will lead the league in passing yards in 2022. Derek Carr can simply sling it. He has one of the most underrated arms in the leagues. He seems to be on this trend where he plays amazing and then he doesn't show up during some big time games. But a lot of this can be contributed to coaching, the talent around him, or just bad luck. But now that he has McDaniels, all of the talent they acquired this offseason, and now hopefully a turn of luck as the house always wins playing in Vegas, he'll go out and put on a 17-game stretch of high-caliber offensive games and finish the season with over 5,000 yards passing and the #1 passing quarterback in the league. And now talking about the defending Super Bowl champions, the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp will have an even better season than he did last year. Going into the 2021 season, Kupp wasn't a sleeper. Teams knew about him. And as the legend of Cooper Kupp grew throughout the 2021 season, it seemed as if defenses only had fewer and fewer answers for him. And him and Stafford have a full year under their belt together, and I expect their connection to reflect that this season. We might not see another no-look pass to Kupp. We might see something even better and an upgrade and see our very first ever eyes closed pass. The Baltimore Ravens. Both of their first-round picks will be Pro Bowlers this year. Kyle Hamilton and Tyler Linderbaum. I haven't made a video on either one of these players since they've been drafted, but that doesn't mean I'm not incredibly high on both of them. Kyle Hamilton is a special talent, and I said in a video pre-draft that it is going to be critical what team he lands on, and I don't think I could have handpicked a better team for him. And as far as Tyler Linderbaum, I think he might have a Creed Humphrey or Quentin Nelson-like rookie year where he immediately comes in the league as one of the best players at his position. He has the chance to look very good in this Ravens run-heavy offense, and the fact is, he is that good. Look for both of these guys to potentially be Pro Bowlers as rookies. The New Orleans Saints are going to win the AFC South. I think a lot of teams and fans around the league are really sleeping on the Saints, and it seems like it's the Bucs versus everyone else in this division. But I think the Saints' defense and offensive firepower will absolutely allow them the chance to win this division. They almost made the playoffs last year with my buddy from the local gas station at quarterbacks. The Bucs are super talented, don't get me wrong, but I think they got overall worse as a team from last year, and I think the Saints got much better. But this takes us to the Seattle Seahawks, and DK Metcalf is going to silence all of his haters. I think there's been an ongoing debate of what tier of wide receiver DK Metcalf is, and I think a lot of his success has been attributed to Russell Wilson, which is fair, but also not the full story. He is going to show that with Drew Lock or Geno Smith that he is that guy. And even with a below average starting quarterback, he can get his with anyone or against anyone. And now, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Kenny Pickett is going to have a better rookie year than anyone from this or last year's draft class. And it's not like there were any all-pro rookies from last year, but this is a bold take as he is currently 3rd on the depth chart. But Mike Tomlin is smart, and Bill Belichick just last year had Cam Newton starting all of the preseason games, and Mac Jones was wearing number 50. He is going to make sure Kenny Pickett feels like he's earned it and nothing was handed to him. That being said, I think he's the best in that quarterback room, and I think the team sets him up for success. They have stars all over the field for him to throw it to and hand it off to, and he won't be in a Trevor Lawrence situation and have to create everything for himself and struggle. A lot of things are going to open up for him, and with their defense, they'll hopefully be able to play a lot more conservative style football, which should lead to Kenny Pickett having great numbers, and this is where Pickett is really best at. But now, the Houston Texans. Davis Mills is going to prove to be the guy for the future. He seemed like a draft pick last year as a placeholder quarterback while they figure out the Deshaun Watson mess, but he proved to be much more than that. He shined on a team that didn't have a lot to work with, and barring him getting injured or completely not playing like he did it all last year, I think the Texans have found their long-term guy. The Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans might have the most forgettable good season out of any team in the league. The Titans are good, like really good, but I don't see them making the playoffs if they don't win their division. And as I mentioned earlier, I think this is the Colts' year. Derrick Henry's a certified beast, and I don't buy into the fact that he's falling off at all. I don't think Treylon Burks is as good as A.J. Brown, and they didn't make enough significant improvements to the team to warrant being better than some other AFC teams. Their style of play is very boring, but very consistent, and although I think they'll finish the season with a good record, I think they might be one of the least talked about good teams in the league, outside of the 2 games when Derrick Henry rushes for 800 yards against the Jags. And finally, the last team, the Minnesota Vikings. And before I say the bold prediction, I'd like to say, if you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so incredibly much. And I'm sure if you've made it to this point, you'll have a comment or a question you want to ask, something you agree or completely disagree with. But I want to personally thank you in the comments. So let's say before you comment your question, start it off by saying your all-time favorite song. So I'll know the select few of you that made it to this point, and I'll be sure to personally thank you, while everyone else in the comments will just be confused. But with the Minnesota Vikings, I think this is the year the head-to-head battle between Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson gets answered. Jefferson has had the best 2 seasons to start a career of almost any wide receiver in NFL history. Ja'Marr is immensely talented in his own right, but I think teams this year will go all in on trying to stop him and be able to limit some of the big plays he made last year. While teams have already tried this with Jefferson and proven to have no solution, as I think he's an overall better 3-level receiver. So even though I correctly predicted last preseason that Ja'Marr Chase would have a better rookie year than Jefferson, I think the debate of who is better is going to be settled by the end of the year. And we did it. That is one bold prediction from every team for the 2022 NFL season. There is probably no chance that you agree with everything I've said today, and that's because these are some very bold takes. But on the other hand, maybe I said something that you've been telling your friends, and I'm the first person to confirm your thoughts. And I want to know all of them, the good and the bad, so make sure to like the video if you liked it. Make sure to comment down below what you agree or disagree with, and make sure to subscribe if you enjoy daily NFL content. But that's going to be it for me today, but as always, I will see you all tomorrow. Peace!